So it is 12 o'clock on the dot, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining us, whether this is your lunch hour or whether you're multitasking, whatever it is you're doing, we appreciate you being here. I want to thank the Cabarrus Regional Chamber who co-sponsored this webinar. It's part of their Success in 60 webinar. We're definitely excited to partner with them to bring topics like social media, human resources, other topics like that to folks. We have found a big increase in attendance with this webinar format. We find that people are able to participate a lot more, fit this into their schedules, and we're excited about it. So some of you may be returning and have been to one of my webinars before. I would love for you to type in the comments whether you're a first timer with us here at Perry Productions for a webinar, or if you are a returning webinar attendee, so I know who you are. And as we spend the next hour together, while you're doing that, I'll introduce myself just in case you are new to us. My name is Lisa Perry. My husband and I run Perry Productions. We recently celebrated our 25th year in business. Yes, we started our business the year after we got married. We've seen it grow and prosper over the years, and it's been a really fun journey for us. This picture is a picture of our building that we call it's 41 Edgewood. We work out of a historic home in downtown Concord. The other picture is my two sons, Jake and Dylan, teenage boys, and my dog Dodger. So that's a little bit about me personally. What do I do for a living? It's been an interesting journey. As I mentioned, we started in graphic design 25 years ago, but our services have evolved greatly as the internet developed and changed. And so we do run a digital marketing and website development agency here in Cabarrus County. We were honored to be the 2016 Chamber Small Business of the Year. Part of that is because we have a community of businesses that have been supportive of us. Like I said, this chamber partners with us on webinars like this. I serve on the chamber board, and I'm happy to represent the small business community on that board. We've also started within the last year Lisa Perry Social, because we found a lot of folks can't afford to hire an agency, or they have some skills and don't fully need an agency, but they need the education, they need the tools. So we have started creating online classes and are going to really be growing that side of the business so that people can stay up to date and know how to do social media for their businesses. And so we have a lot of things that we do, and this webinar series has been one of our most popular things that people really find helpful as they go on the social media journey, because it is always changing. So diving right in, and speaking of change, I wanted to share, before I get to some of the trends that I want to share with you, some recent news. I was following so many different social media influencers, as I do, that share the latest and greatest in what's happening in social media, and I came across this, and it is what the new Facebook feed may look like. So they've rolled this out to some people. Those of you with iPhones that have put it on dark mode, it looks like that may be an option on the new desktop. Facebook, the new feed will apparently keep your place. So if you're scrolling in the news feed and you click off to look something and you go back, it may hold your place. So that's something that they're testing out, which would be a nice new feature. And you can see now that they have groups at the top like they do on the mobile, the mobile devices. So a little bit of a different look here for the desktop coming down the road. There had been news that the feed might go away. If they're redesigning it, I don't think it's going away, but I think they're constantly tweaking it and seeing, what's going to be most effective. But I thought that you might enjoy seeing what that may look like someday when you just log into your Facebook. The other big news that you may have heard about is Instagram testing removing links. So if you're on Instagram, sorry, Brian just corrected me. Instagram testing removing likes, sorry, not links. You may have been on your Instagram feed and seen like this picture liked by one person and others. So there's no longer a number. And they're getting kind of mixed reviews about that. A lot of influencers have had negative feedback because that's how they build their business, is because of they can share their massive following. But they've also said this isn't good for people's mental health, that too many people tie likes to self-worth, and particularly Gen Z. And so that's why they've been experimenting with it. So whether or not it will disappear, I have been asked if you as the profile owner will still be able to see likes, and you will. It's just the person visiting your profile won't be able to see how many likes are on a specific post. So from a monitoring of how well you think a post is performing, what they sometimes call vanity metrics, that may be changing. But still not sure. Like I said, it rolled out in some other countries, but they've started to roll it out in the US to test it out and see what happens. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So those are just two things I wanted to make sure that you're aware of from the news end. And as far as social media trends, I always spend a lot of time in January, and I want to give a shout out to Kayla Schultz on my staff, who helped me research a lot of different trends, all of different sources. And we could spend 5 hours on all the different trends that people say are out there, but I've selected 10 that I think are most relevant for small businesses, for solopreneurs, and some that might be above your level. You might think, oh my gosh, I could never do that, but I want you to know what's out there. And what I always encourage small businesses to do is, how can I take whatever that idea is and scale it down to size for me? So some of these you might say are not for me, but some of these I think you really might want to get into your marketing plans. And some of them you might recognize from last year because they're still trends, or they're growing trends, or they've been tweaked a little bit. But like I said, I've chosen 10 that I think make sense and that I think will benefit you in your marketing strategy. So number one, staying on platforms. So what does that mean? The algorithms for Facebook, for Instagram, for even YouTube are going to really be rewarding you for staying on the platform. Even as an agency, we, part of our strategy has always been use social media to drive people to someplace else, to your website, to calls to action, like link in your bio, join our email list. The piece of content that you're putting on social media is the beginning of a sales funnel. Well, the social media channels don't want you to do that. They want to keep you on their platform. So, part of this is thinking of it as a marathon, not a sprint. And so an example of that would be, you're going to have to create more content on the social media platforms that doesn't really take anybody there, but hopefully you're nurturing a relationship with them. So for instance, if you're on YouTube, you create a video and the call to action is to watch another video. I'm also going to be talking about Instagram long form captions, how that is meant to keep you on the platform longer. But when you think about it, it's the algorithms of these platforms. They're going to serve you out to more people if someone is staying and on that page longer. So that's something to really keep an eye on when you think about your strategy and how much content you're creating. Are you, is the plan to keep them on your page and serve them something else right there? I've made a 1A to this because selling on the platform is really going to be big. And that is, like I said, within the platform's plan, is they don't even want to send you off to a website to buy something. They want you to purchase directly through the app. So you're going to see social commerce rapidly expanding. And I think what's going to happen is the user is going to start to expect that. So you may have seen this on especially fashion sites where you can now, they're clickable and you can purchase right there. So that's going to really grow. Shoppable posts in both the feed and stories on Instagram LinkedIn has got specialized business to business targeting that's going to be really focused on social commerce. And then Facebook has the most personalized content of any platform. And you're going to start to see these carousel ads that you can, direct to certain groups, and buy directly from. So not only is staying on the platform going to be big, but they're even going to, enhance the selling on the platform. So it becomes a one-stop shop. So whether that makes sense for your business, that is something definitely to keep an eye on. So the second trend is expanding on that a little bit, which is YouTube as a social platform. As I was researching for this webinar, everything I saw is talking about YouTube. And video being king is not a new trend. We've been saying that for years. If you have not added video to your social strategy, please make it the top of your list this year. But it's a little different in that they're starting to say YouTube is not just the place you keep your video, you actually want to work it as a true social media platform. So in 2020, Greg Jarbo says the biggest trend that smart brands and businesses should focus on for greater success is the emergence of YouTube as the leading social media platform. Leading. Now, part of that is because brands are just getting tired of Facebook, rejecting ads, making reach more difficult, and they're moving to other platforms. And remember that YouTube is the #2 site on the web behind only Google, and Google owns YouTube. So thinking of it as a social platform that you actually work like a social platform is a different way to think about video. And so what do I mean by that? Well, Google released a stat that said 60% of people use YouTube to answer questions. Perfect example of this, I have an Instapot. I could not figure out how to get the lid on the thing because I actually bought it 2 years ago. So what did I do? I went to Google, I searched, how do I attach my Instapot lid? I found a video that walked me through exactly how to do it. So, and the way to think about YouTube is, it's a library, not a feed. So a video that you put in Facebook, is going to disappear after a couple weeks or maybe even just a few days. But when you add something to your YouTube, it's more of you're building a library. So ask yourself, what questions does your business answer? What might someone be searching for a solution for? And so the trend is going to be to make these longer, more evergreen videos so that you might have a video that goes up and has a lifespan of 2 years. So just a little different way to think about a lot of these things, because you're going to hear things today about disappearing content, that goes away in 24 hours, but then long form videos that last for 2 years. So, 2 different strategies, but they really serve 2 different purposes. But YouTube definitely is going to be a big player. The other thing you want to try to do with YouTube is to grow subscribers. So, if they join, if they subscribe to your YouTube channel, think about what is the value to the user? What type of videos are they going to get? How often are they going to get them? Consistency definitely matters. You don't want to start a YouTube channel and promote it and get subscribers and then not produce a video for 3 months. So can you consistently deliver a weekly video, a monthly video? Maybe that replaces or adds on to your monthly newsletter. But video, explanation, tips, anything that somebody might be searching on the internet for should be part of your strategy. Some of the things to think about is to invest in great thumbnails, titles, and descriptions. Those are the 3 things you really want to think of. If you look at really strong YouTube channels, they have consistent branding with their thumbnails, and they're not just a screen capture of the video, they're an actual almost ad graphic. So you really want to put time into that. The statistics show that people definitely make watching decisions off of thumbnails and titles, and then the descriptions help with the searches. So the other thing is just to get people to watch all the way through to the end. So, getting people through a video really helps. So however you do that, tease something at the beginning that really gets people to stay till the end, because you'll be rewarded for that with the algorithm if people watch all the way through. And then something else new that I heard is that timing does matter. So when you post something, the algorithm is going to reward immediate viewership. So you really want to pay attention to when your folks are devouring that content. So you don't want to launch a video at 3 o'clock in the morning if nobody's really going to watch it till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Some things you can do that they're recommending as well is have an email go out to your email list as soon as you launch that video, which is going to push people to it, as well as social media. Just, new video launched. If people subscribe to the channel, they will actually get a notification as soon as it is uploaded as well. So lots of little things that you can look at doing with YouTube. For those of you that creating video is still a hurdle, whether that's financial or just not having the equipment, the smartphones can take really good videos, and I think it's a matter of just putting your expertise to film and then getting it out into these different channels. But I really think that focusing on a strong YouTube presence is something that you want to invest in 2020. So trend number 3, I absolutely love this one because I am a storyteller and I love that Instagram is rewarding posts that tell a story. So for everybody that has loved Instagram just for the pictures, I think there's still a place for that. But the long form captions, I think of it as the story behind the photo. So taking a really great photo that stops somebody in their tracks and they're like, wow, I wonder what that is. And then they read the caption that tells a story of that photo is where things are heading. You can see this graphic that I found that shows just the evolution of the caption length on Instagram. And that plays right into staying on the platform. So forever and ever, Instagram was link in bio, link in bio. Well, Instagram doesn't want you to leave the platform. So they're rewarding people who are keeping folks on the platform by putting that blog article right in the caption. This is a great way to build a stronger relationship with your audience. These really champion storytelling and authenticity, especially pictures of people that are telling a story of that person, behind the scenes content, those type of things. That's what's really working. I've put a few examples in here. I absolutely love Jenna Kutcher. She has embraced the non-typical model body, and this is her audience responds to this like you would not believe, because it's talking about loving yourself. And she does social media for a living. Even this has nothing to do with social media, but it's all about her and building that relationship with her fans and sharing her vulnerability. But she does that in a long form blog post, and you can see this post had 66,000 likes because people really connected with her on that. So sharing a photo and then telling a story about it. I love my friend Jennifer Parsley, who shared this picture with the mayor at a city council meeting, and you just had to read the blog post because you're like, what is happening in this picture? And she's doing a great job. She's a realtor, and this is a wonderful way for her to just share about herself. Realtors, it's a very personal transaction, listing your home, and so she shares parts of her life on her Instagram, and she's great at doing these long form Instagram captions. So really something to think about, getting into your strategy. And if you don't have a writer on staff, I can't tell you how important having good content is across the board, whether it's for your website, blog articles, that having a strong storyteller is just a key component to all of your social media. So whether you farm that out, whether you have somebody in-house, I think that's really a key skill that you're going to need in your social media. Trend number 4, this one I absolutely love. And this is a new one. I haven't talked about this before, even though I tell people about it all the time. And that's employee advocacy. I have always said your employees are your best ambassadors, and everyone in the company is on the marketing team. And some people listen to me and some don't. Like, they don't want to bug their employees, they don't want to be involved. But it's really evolving. And I think this is really cool because EA, or what I call Employee Advocacy 1.0, was just asking your employees to share blog articles on LinkedIn, which really is very employer centric. It's for me, hey, help the company, go share this article. Lots of employees are just sharing it. They're not putting any comments behind it. So granted, you might be linking to their network and everything, but it really wasn't as effective as it could be. Employee Advocacy 2.0, which is how it has evolved, is really encouraging employees to share, or what I like even better is to develop content they find interesting and personalize it, let them tell their stories. And this is a great way to have a completely different look at your company and how you do business. Social media is becoming much more, I want the companies I'm doing business with to be transparent. I want to understand how they work, what they do, and I want to know the people behind the scenes. So some things you can do with this is to really focus on service. How do your employees do their jobs? And let them share how they do their jobs, whether that's by a blog, whether that's by video, however they want to do it. You're definitely going to have employees who will say, I am never, ever doing that. But find creative ways to share with them. It really also builds employee pride and good culture, but it helps the company because it shows people that this is a great place to work and do business. You can also illustrate your company's reputation as an industry leader, but instead of just talking about it, talk about how the people in your company make you an industry leader. Telling the story through the employee perspective seems to be a lot of what employee advocacy is about. And then obviously things about how the company gives back, volunteerism, community responsibility, how are you fostering that in the company, and what are those stories? So lots of good things. I love employee advocacy. I definitely think that involving employees in your social media strategy has lots and lots of benefits. So something to think about. Ephemeral content. When I first heard this word, trend number 5, I had to look it up and then I had to figure out how to say it. At the end of the day, it's stories. And this was a trend last year, but I'm going to show you why this is probably the thing that you need to focus on the most, other than video. So first of all, let me define ephemeral content in case that's a new word to you as well. But it's something that is available only for a short duration and disappears afterwards. So just a little history. Part of what is fueling ephemeral content is obviously people's attention spans are shorter, but also privacy. There's this trend to not have, what I call Facebook sometimes is my digital scrapbook. I like to post things. I was a scrapbooker back in the day. I love to have all my photos and even the memories. It comes back and tells me. Well, now with stories, it's gone. 24 hours, and whatever I shared is gone. And so that does help on the privacy end. But it also, it's interesting. I mentioned I have teenage boys, and they're not scrapbookers. They don't want their things that they share to last forever. So it is a bit of a change just in generation, but it certainly is how people are devouring content. So Instagram and Facebook stories are perfect examples of this. Stories are growing 15 times faster than feed-based sharing. So people are using this as their go-to tool for sharing on social and how they're devouring content. So both ways. So really, if you're a business and you're not there, you're definitely missing out, because that is how people are consuming content this day. They're short, they're engaging, and they're very addictive. I sit and people just scroll through stories. It's kind of like they've gone from up and down to left to right. So short little snippets, I think it's sometimes hard, especially for small businesses, to invest time and energy into some of this ephemeral content when it's just gone so quickly. So you still really want to have a strategy around what it is that you're sharing. I want to show you a stat because a lot of people think it's Instagram stories that, are the most popular, but Facebook has skyrocketed with their stories. The stories started on Snapchat, obviously. Facebook and Instagram came in and just copied that. But I found this stat or this chart really interesting because of how flat the Snapchat line is. But when you look at the purple Instagram growth and then the Facebook growth just within the last year, 500 million users are doing stories. And so the people are there and they're using them. And so it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to, especially on those two platforms. So some examples, one of the things that I like, because again, I work with a lot of small businesses, and to create content that's just going to disappear sometimes concerns me. So I really like engagement stickers. And these are some examples of some of what we do, because if you can get somebody to pause and interact with you, then you've captured their attention. So I've shown 3 different examples here in the poll, the question, and the survey. I love this one that where you can actually have questions. It goes fast, but you can always go back. You can click back on one, but then you can actually see who engaged with these. It can lead to additional direct message engagement. So engagement stickers are one of my favorite things to do with your stories. And so something to really consider integrating into your marketing plan. If you have never done a story, I've actually created an online course step-by-step for beginners of how to do stories. I literally have screen captured, I've included videos, because I know for some people, creating a story from scratch can be kind of overwhelming. For my kids, they can do it easily. They've grown up with that. But stories are a different animal for some folks who are, like me, there were scrapbookers in the beginning, and this is a little different feel. Instagram has launched Creator, which makes creating stories even easier. And this is really exciting because now when you're on the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button that says Create. And right there are the engagement stickers. So you can create your poll, your quiz, your countdown, your question, and it gets you started directly from the main screen. But there's also these cool templates in there now. I don't know if you've seen them all yet, but they kind of are starter templates to get you going too. So if you're not super creative and you see all these stories and you're like, oh my gosh, I could never be that clever and creative, there's ways now that Instagram through Creator is making it even easier for you. So lots of really cool things happening around ephemeral content, but something you want to consider mostly because of the usage, and you really need to get that incorporated into your plan. So that's my first 5, and I'm going to call halftime. And as Brian said, it's because the Super Bowl's coming, and I love football. But I cannot have a social media webinar without talking about email lists, because every time I think about social media, I want to include all of digital marketing. And I've shared earlier that some of the calls to actions to a social media post that drives someone to join an email list may be going away. You still need to focus on that email list. Every single time I do a webinar, I promote it on social media, but when I send an email out, that's when I get registrations. The one I sent for this one, 30 people signed up within the first hour. And so please continue to focus on growing your email list, because that is how you get people to buy. Social media is still about nurturing relationships. It's about, some other things we're going to talk about in the second half here, customer accountability and things like that. But focusing on building that email list has got to continue to be at the very top of your priorities. This is a perfect example. I met with a client yesterday, and this one graphic on their website, which is Try the Y for free, which is a 7-day pass, has added 6,000 new email addresses to their list. And in just January, they were getting 4 to 5 a day, and 150 in January alone. And we had a discussion about, because they're doing a new website, should we just put sign up for my e-newsletter? No, people don't want any more e-newsletters. They want to get something for free. 7-day pass, free download, ebooks, all kinds of free knowledge. We have checklists and things like that, all specifically to grow an email list. So even though we are talking about social media trends today, this still remains important. And I never ever want a webinar to go by where I'm speaking to small businesses about how you can effectively connect with customers without talking about email. So that's my sermon on email. I will get back to the trends, but I always want to keep that top of mind with folks so that they know that they've got to keep that in their marketing mix. So trend number 6 is building meaningful communities, AKA tribes. You've probably heard this. There are so many groups being formed, Facebook groups. That is the way Mark Zuckerberg wants to go. He's saying the future of social media is private. I've heard the terms used that we're going into groups is like going into the living room and having a private chat. So you're getting people with like interest into one area. What's happening in the algorithm is anything that's in a group that gets posted out to your feed more often. And with the feed change that I showed you, you'll actually have an option to just see your group posts. So you'll be able to almost shut out your feed and just see posts that have come from your group. So that just tells you where Facebook's priority is. Their other platforms also have communities, but I did say last year, you need to be thinking about setting up a Facebook group. And this year, that is even more true. I like this quote from Lisa Beyer: the relationship we build with our customers is more important than the products and services we sell them. I mean, mind-blowing, right? Who would think that the product and service is the most important thing? It's the relationship we're building with the customers. People are looking for connections on a personal level with businesses and brands that make them feel like part of their community. I remember last year I shared your kids may have computers and they put all those stickers on them. What stickers are they willing to stick on their computer? Those are the brands that they love. Those are the ones that they feel connected to. And so part of the communities is not a place for you to group people to sell to them. It's to nurture them and get to know them, allow them to get to know you, allow you to listen to them and their needs. It's relationship building. Does it take more time and energy? Absolutely. But in the end, that's what's going to pay off. And so I said earlier in the webinar, it's more about a marathon right now than a sprint. People who are looking for quick sales through social, that's not where things are. People are more savvy users now. They can recognize marketing when it comes at them. What they want are brands that are willing to spend the time with them and build relationships. And this is an example. I bought a Peloton recently, and I don't usually like to, use huge company examples because I try to find local small businesses, but I'm just so impressed with the community that Peloton, the formula that they've done. And I do think you can look at what they've done and scale it down to you. But I buy the bike, and the first thing I do is get an invitation to be a part of a Facebook group so that I can be part of a community, because the bike is in my house. I mean, I'm not going to a fitness facility where there's a bunch of other people, so I'm going to be isolated unless that business and that brand pulls me in. The thing that I love about what they're doing is they're combining employee advocacy with their instructors. So they all have their own social media. They're actively talking about what they do for a living, and they have a following. They are influencers. There's also the user-generated content, like this post that I did, sharing something about myself. So, within this group, they're getting that community, they're getting user-generated content, and they're getting employee advocacy all in one. And you can see that, I had 658 people comment on this. I felt immediately welcomed, and I'm ready to go. And this is something I'm going to stick with. Partly, I'm going to keep their membership because they're keeping me connected. So if you're going to set up a community, a couple of things you're going to want to ask is, number one, who is your audience? You're setting up this community based on what the audience needs, not what you need. And then what are their interests and challenges? And you clearly want to set up a community for someone whose interests and challenges you have products and services around. But it's much more about nurturing relationships. It's about keeping people connected. This is what the Peloton member page looks like. This is an example of one of the instructors coming on and doing a video. These are all things that you can do within your community. And just a local example, I love that Team Honeycutt set up this group that's just called Living in Cabarrus County. It's not called Allen Tate Team Honeycutt Realtors, but they are experts on living in Cabarrus County. And they've got almost 900 people in this community. And people in the community are sharing things, but they are the ones that set this up. They are the ones that can facilitate it. They are the ones that can be experts in the industry. And then when people think about buying a home, because of the relationships they've developed within this group, they're more likely to hire them as a real estate agent. So I love, those types of communities that are being set up. A few additional tips for groups: definitely have a clearly defined purpose for engaging a channel before you do it. Do not launch that group until you know exactly what it is you want to do, so they don't feel like this is just a place for them to be corralled so you can sell to them. The other thing is just creating a strong community around your brand. The types of things you can do in there as an expert is to educate, entertain, motivate, like with Peloton, engage, and then facilitate meaningful interaction between followers. A lot of groups, eventually leaders will develop from the group, but initially you as the leader may need to kick that off. But it's another great way for you to involve your employees, especially if there are employees across your company that have different specialties, and they can take a week, and maybe that week they are the ones in charge of facilitating some interactions within the group and kicking off some topics. So absolutely love meaningful interactions through groups as far as your social media strategy goes. Trend number 7, social media as customer service. So more and more, just like with stories, users want to reach out to brands through social media. They don't want to call you. They don't want to email you. They want to send you a Facebook message, and they expect to hear from you immediately. And so part of your social strategy has to be who is manning those messages, because when someone is not responded to quickly, they're going to be frustrated. And so as the expectation rises that people want to be able to use social media as a way to receive customer service, brands and businesses need to be ready for that. So over a quarter, 28% of consumers have used social media to communicate with a company. That's more than 1 in 4. So a trend, this is going to increase just because it's convenient for people. They want to stay on the platform. They don't want to go find your website. They don't want to call you 24 hours. I'm not saying that you have to man your social media 24 hours a day, but you probably want to have an auto message go out that someone will get back to you, and have something in place so that messages that get responded to on a regular basis. I love this example. I get to use Brian in an example of customer service. We were having an employee lunch that we had planned for, and went to Chipotle, and we placed a catering order. And when we went to go get it, they called us and said, sorry, our grill's not working at this location, which, we understand, but we had a plan for lunch, and they really didn't give us very good customer service. They didn't offer to take care of getting us something else. We asked for guacamole, and they said, sorry, no. And it takes a lot to get Brian mad. It really takes a lot to get Brian headed over to Twitter to complain about it. But you can see his tweet here And I love the band Chipotle. But you can also see that Chipotle responded almost immediately. Brian did reach out. They sent us $150, which was about the cost of our order, in gift cards. And so, as mad as we were at Chipotle that day, that was excellent customer service. And you can see that, Chipotle doesn't want people going onto Twitter and saying ban Chipotle. But they were ready and armed, and they took care of it. And, we now have a satisfied customer. So another example of social media's customer service is through Facebook Messenger. So this is one of our clients who initiated, they're using Facebook Marketplace, and that's initiating a lot of messages. And that person who works for the dealership is responding, getting them the information they need. This is how people are shopping for cars. We're not showing up on the car lot anymore ready to search around. We've already done all the research on our computers. So getting quick, timely service through the internet is how things are going. This Hilbish Ford, who's a wonderful client of ours, has really grown his internet sales department just to handle the customer service of the people who want to car shop from their couch. But it's a way of connecting them still to a person. They still feel like they're getting quality customer service and helping them find their vehicle, and they're more likely to buy from a company that responded to them on social media. So really something to think about as you're looking at your social media strategy this year. Number 8, Nano-Influencers. I absolutely love this. Last year, I had called them micro-influencers. I'm not a Kim Kardashian fan. I don't really care about the celebrity influencers, but I love nano influencers. And all that means is they're influencers that are local. So the trend isn't going anywhere, but people recognize a fake influencer. Like, people can tell that that person was paid. They probably don't wear that makeup. They probably don't, shop at that place. But locally, for smaller businesses, in engaging people in your community, whether that's some of your best clients or your best customers to be brand ambassadors for you, is really taking off for a lot of businesses. I see this so much, especially for some of these small boutiques. I love 3 Gems here in Concord. And you can see here what they're doing is engaging certain people that have, solid social media following, and they're using a code. So this is on Raquel's Instagram, and she says use my code Raquel15 for 15% off. So, and the same thing with Brianna. They're just creating a simple code. They're sharing photos of themselves in 3 Gems clothing, and then letting people know, hey, you can get a discount by using my code. These are nano influencers. And so if you're not in the fashion business, how could you do that? Maybe it's somebody that uses your services all the time, and you're just talking to them about how they can help promote you on social media. Definitely being successful in those smaller, even just 1,000 followers, and somebody that's socially active. I would say, you don't want to pick a nano influencer who's never sharing on social media, but creating a relationship with those people and talking to them about how they can benefit your business and giving them a benefit in the return. I don't know 3 Gems relationship with their people, but they probably give them some type of discount in to do that. So definitely something to think about, reaching out and doing things on a smaller scale. Okay, so trend number 9 is emphasis on analytics and social listening. I still work with a lot of companies that are small, and they really struggle to take the time to look at analytics, but you absolutely have to, especially if likes are going to be disappearing. How are you evaluating the success of your social media? And I think you've got to look at new ways to evaluate it. And that's why I always encourage people to sit down and think about what is your purpose for what you're doing on a certain channel, and really planning that out. And then what metrics are you going to use to gauge whether that was successful? And I see this happening a lot in companies where they like, okay, we're spending this much money on our social media efforts. How do we see the return? It's going to be harder to see that if they start to hide some of those metrics. But I also think it's why it's an opportunity for you to do more social listening. And that means like looking at what people are saying about you, using a hashtag, and then seeing who's, or promoting a hashtag for your business, and then seeing who's using it and how they're using it and what they're saying. Also ties into the Nano-Influencers. What are they saying about your product, and listening, and then seeing what are people responding to. So something else that takes a little more time and manpower than just looking at, oh, I got 5,000 likes. But that is not a good way to gauge what you're doing on social media. Long-term engagement means more than like a short-term spike in likes. One post that you did that just blew up is not going to be as meaningful as a brand where you're driving conversations with customers. Sometimes those conversations you take offline, more direct messages, more Facebook messages, being available for those and nurturing those clients. That is more of a one-on-one situation, and that just takes longer. But that seems to be where things are headed and what savvy social media users are looking for. And so, you have to pivot if you haven't been doing that, and start to think about, well, I have a small staff, how am I going to manage that? A lot of these analytics aren't out yet. We're going to be keeping an eye on that for our clients too. If likes and things like that disappear, what other things are we going to be looking at? And especially a lot of the times we look at traffic to the website. If we're suddenly staying on the platform more and there's less traffic to the website, how are we determining if our social media is successful? So there's lots of things around that are still a bit of a question mark, but that we need to be researching and seeing what new tools are out there so that we can make sure that we have a way to evaluate the success of our social media. And number 10, this one is what we talked about last year, but it is probably my favorite for two reasons. User-generated content accomplishes that goal of connecting you with people. It is in line with the Nano-Influencer who's sharing things about your content, but it also takes away the burden of you creating the content when you can share something somebody else said. So if you are a small staff, that's a great way for you to not have to create content. You can be sharing what others are saying. So user-generated content is great. So let me give you a few examples. I really like what this brand did, where they are saying, hashtag just got my zennies. So they're eyeglasses, and they're, when you get, just like when I got my Peloton, when you get your glasses, they're giving you this hashtag and encouraging you to take a photo and share it. And then they're resharing that with a shout out to that particular person, and resharing that user-generated content. They're including the information about that particular product. So taking user-generated content and using it as their content. But it all started with them promoting that hashtag and encouraging someone who bought from them to share it. We like to use user-generated content for the gem in both our stories and on the feed. And the cool thing about user-generated content is we like to see how the users see our business. This was a person who shared it was their first time at the gym. And so that was obviously something we really wanted to do. And this other one is someone taking their wedding announcement and sharing that at the gym. So different moments, not just, hey, come see a movie, but it was our first time at the movie, or we care so much about this, we want to get married here. So great user-generated content to reshare in connecting with your audience. In case you don't know where to go to find user-generated content, I added this slide. There are especially tons of places on Instagram. If you click on this first icon here, that's where you can see any people who've mentioned your page, and those are a good place that you want to check frequently to see if people are mentioning you, and always make a comment back, a like back, so that and people love to hear from their brands. But like I said, you can take it a step further and use that as your content by giving them a shout out. You also want to make sure that if you go to the search tool, and you can then, you have these options up here. You want to check your tags. So if you promote a hashtag, how many people have used that hashtag and shared posts for you, as well as places if they've checked, like as on Facebook, it's called checked in, but if they've added the location tag, and that seems to be what a lot of people do on Instagram, are you checking those? And that's another place that you can get user generated content. On Facebook, you may not realize that within your notifications tab, you actually have to click on other in order to get to check-ins, mentions, and shares. So this is something else that you definitely want to be checking in on regularly, so that you can add comments. You can see for the gem, somebody that said movie date with my ladies, we go ahead and make a comment, at least like the post, if not making a comment about thank you for coming out. But if they share photos or things like that, that's also content that we can reshare. But definitely take the time to check in on these different sources to see if people are tagging you, and that's a great way for you to engage with them. So other platforms to watch, those are kind of my top 10 trends to watch for. Reddit is really, I'm seeing so much about it. I'm actually not a user, but I just am seeing it everywhere. It's a consumer use is really growing, and brands here are more authoritative. So, if you're like more on the LinkedIn end, this could be a good place for you if you're looking to promote yourself as a thought leader. I was shocked to see these statistics that 32% of all Americans are on it each month. So I think this year I'm going to start using it just because I want to see what it's all about. But certainly something to keep an eye on. Pinterest has been around a long time, but I'm constantly seeing how much the people go to Pinterest ready to purchase. And a lot of brands are really doing extremely well because they've got the credit card in hand more than any other social media platform and ready to buy when they're on Pinterest. So really having a resurgence there. And I added TikTok as well, just because my 15-year-old son asked me not to. He's like, Mom, please don't tell anybody about TikTok. And I remember last year when we were looking at social media trends, they were talking about how huge TikTok was going to be, and they were right. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, it is a Chinese-owned short form video. And I did interview my son before this, and I said, what do you use the different platforms for? Like, are you on Snapchat the most or TikTok? He said Snapchat they use, or at least he uses, to communicate with his friends, like texting and things like that. But TikTok he uses for entertainment, just watches video after video. I mean, we'll spend an hour just logging through TikTok videos. So it has drastically grown in that younger demographic. When we look at, is it going to grow more? Instagram is a big threat to them as they're adding other features and things like that. So whether it'll have staying power or not, most of the clients that we work with, that 16 to 22 is not their target demographic, which is what that audience really is. Although I threaten my son to come over there all the time, which will make him leave immediately. So, but just 3 other platforms to kind of keep an eye on. Like I said, niche social media channels. People are still looking at where can they go to these smaller niche social media channels and have a presence. So I hope I've given you in the last 55 minutes a ton of information that you can use. Like I said, you will get this as a replay. You will also get the slide deck so you can go back and look all this over. In the trends one, I don't dive into the how to do something specifically, but as I mentioned, I do now offer online workshops. We created this first one, Instagram Stories 101, last year. It's 2 hours of step-by-step video-based education. If you are somebody who learns best by those individual modules at your own pace, this is for you. We have done social media conferences, and the feedback we got is, this is great information, but what do I do next? And so, we created this as a way to really help you. If you're seeing your competitors use stories all the time, but you just can't do it yourself, you don't think you have the time, this you can do at your own pace. And being more active on stories, as I mentioned earlier, is just something that you really need to do. So I'm hoping that this is something that will be helpful to you. What's included, there are 6 different modules. I break it down from planning, the basics, engagement stickers that I showed you, highlights, time savers, and then how to evaluate your insights and analytics. This is a 101, so if you're already a savvy stories creator, this is not for you. It obviously doesn't have a lot of the new stuff that's rolled out, but if you are a beginner, this is a perfect place to start, and it really will help you get off the ground creating this kind of content. You definitely can do it, and you really need to do it, and that's why I've created these simple step-by-step videos to help you. I really think you can grow and engage your followers using stories. And if you're really new to Instagram, reach out to us. We can always help you get started. But this is just something that we offer that I think could be really good. My goal for everybody is to get their profiles looking better. That's something else that we talk about within this video training. I didn't really talk about that today, but your Instagram profile is your landing page, your home page. As people are staying more on the platform, they're not going to go visit your website. They're going to look at your profile. And so we teach you how to do those cool highlights and how to make a nice profile so that you can really wow your first time visitors. I have a special price for being on the webinar today. So normally the value is $575. The course is normally $127, but because we're here today and you want to use the code TRENDS, you can get this for only $97. I promise you that is a steal for the time and work I've put into it and the value that you will get out of it. So that TRENDS code is going to be good until Friday at the end of the day. So hopefully that can help you get one of these 10 trends off the ground this year. This is Jennifer, who I mentioned earlier. A quote that she gave me is, Lisa's advice helped me have the courage to find my voice and put it out on social media, but she also taught me the strategies and time-saving techniques so I could fit it into my busy schedule as a working mother. I literally sat with Jennifer as she clicked start on her Instagram account, and now she has almost 300 engaged followers. And that she is building that following, and if she sold 10 houses, 20 houses to that engaged group, imagine what that does for her business. So she has been such a great student, and I'm really proud of the work that she's done on her Instagram. So I just want to thank you for attending today, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I truly hope that this webinar has been helpful to you, that you've gotten some value, and I encourage you to take action. You took an hour out of your day to learn. Take the time to do something with what you learned and put that into action today. Feel free to email me any questions. My email is lisa@perryproductions.com. And you will be getting an email from us later today with that replay, or tomorrow morning as soon as we can get it downloaded and ready, as well as the slide deck. And please watch for future webinars. We are going to have another one in March. I'm looking at doing topics on how to do time management as well as email marketing, which, like I said, is a passion of mine, and making sure businesses are plugged in and doing a great job of growing their email list. So thanks again for spending time with me. Have a great rest of your day.